translation of Sahih Bukhari, Book 92, Holding Fast to the Qur'an and Sunnah. Volume 9, Book 92, number 373, narrated Tariq bin Shihab, a Jew said to Umar, O chief of the believers, if this verse, this day I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favors upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion. Quran 5 verse 3 had been revealed upon us, we would have taken that day as an Eid festival day. Umar said, I know definitely on what day this verse was revealed. It was revealed on the day of Arafat, on a Friday. Number 374, narrated Anas bin Malik, that he heard Umar speaking while standing on the pulpit of the Prophet in the morning following the death of the Prophet, when the people had sworn allegiance to Abu Bakr. He said the tashahhud before Abu Bakr, and said, Amma ba'du, then after Allah has chosen for his apostle what is with him paradise rather than what is with you the world, this is the book Qur'an with which Allah guided your apostle, so stick to it, for then you will be guided on the right path as Allah guided his apostle with it. Number 375, narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet embraced me and said, O Allah, teach him the knowledge of the book Qur'an. Number 376, narrated Abu Minhal, Abu Barza said, O people, Allah makes you self-sufficient or has raised you high with Islam and with Muhammad. Number 377, narrated Abdullah bin Dinar, Abdullah bin Umar wrote to Abdul Malik bin Marwan, swearing allegiance to him, I swear allegiance to you in that I will listen and obey what is in accordance with the laws of Allah and the tradition of his apostle as much as I can. Number 378, narrated Said bin al-Musayyab, Abu Hurairah said that Allah's apostle said, I have been sent with Jawami al-Kalim, the shortest expression with the widest meaning, and have been made victorious with all cast in my enemies' hearts, and while I was sleeping, I saw that the keys of the treasures of the world were placed in my hand. Abu Hurairah added, Allah's apostle has gone, and you people are utilizing those treasures, or digging those treasures out. Or said a similar sentence. Number 379, narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, there was no prophet among the prophets but was given miracles because of which people had security or had belief, but what I was given was the divine inspiration which Allah revealed to me. So I hope that my followers will be more than those of any other prophet on the day of resurrection. Number 380, narrated Abu Wa'il, I sat with Shaiba in this mosque al-Masjid al-Haram, and he said, Umar once sat beside me here as you are now sitting, and said, I feel like distributing all the gold and silver that are in it, that is, the Kaaba, among the Muslims. I said, you cannot do that. Umar said, why? I said, your two previous companions the Prophet and Abu Bakr did not do it. Umar said, they are the two persons whom one must follow. See Hadith number 664, Volume 2. Number 381, narrated Hudayfa, Allah's apostle said to us, honesty descended from the heavens and settled in the roots of the hearts of men faithful believers, and then the Qur'an was revealed and the people read the Qur'an, and learned it from it and also learned it from the Sunnah. Both Qur'an and Sunnah strengthened the faithful believers' honesty. See Hadith number 208. Number 382, narrated Abdullah, the best talk speech is Allah's book Qur'an, and the best way is the way of Muhammad, and the worst matters are the heresies, those new things which are introduced into the religion. And whatever you have been promised will surely come to pass, and you cannot escape it. Number 383, narrated Abu Hurairah and Zayd bin Khalid, we were with the Prophet when he said to two men, I shall judge between you according to Allah's book laws. Number 384, narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle said, all my followers will enter paradise except those who refuse. They said, O Allah's apostle, who will refuse? He said, whoever obeys me will enter paradise, and whoever disobeys me is the one who refuses to enter it. Number 385, narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, some angels came to the Prophet while he was sleeping. Some of them said, he is sleeping. Others said, his eyes are sleeping but his heart is awake. Then they said, there is an example for this companion of yours. One of them said, then set forth an example for him. Some of them said, he is sleeping. The other says, his eyes are sleeping but his heart is awake. Then they said, his example is that of a man who has built a house and then offered therein a banquet and sent an inviter messenger to invite the people. So whoever accepted the invitation of the inviter, entered the house and ate of the banquet, and whoever did not accept the invitation of the inviter, did not enter the house, nor did he eat of the banquet. Then the angels said, interpret this example to him so that he may understand it. Some of them said, he is sleeping. The other says, his eyes are sleeping but his heart is awake. And then they said, the houses stands for paradise and the calm maker is Muhammad. And whoever obeys Muhammad, obeys Allah. And whoever disobeys Muhammad, disobeys Allah. Muhammad separated the people, that is, through his message, the good is distinguished from the bad, and the believers from the disbelievers. Number 386, narrated Hammam, Hudayfa said, O the group of Al-Qur'an, follow the straight path, for then you have taken a great lead and will be the leaders, but if you divert right or left, then you will go astray far away. Number 387, narrated Abu Musa, the Prophet said, my example and the example of what I have been sent with is that of a man who came to some people and said, O people, I have seen the enemy's army with my own eyes, and I am the naked warner. So protect yourselves. Then a group of his people obeyed him and fled at night, proceeding stealthily till they were safe, while another group of them disbelieved him and stayed at their places till morning, when the army came upon them, and killed and ruined them completely. So this is the example of that person who obeys me and follows what I have brought, the Qur'an and the Sunnah, and the example of the one who disobeys me and disbelieves the truth I have brought. Number 388, narrated Abu Hurairah, when Allah's apostle died and Abu Bakr was elected as a caliph after him, some of the Arabs reverted to disbelief. Umar said to Abu Bakr, how dare you fight the people? While Allah's apostle said, I have been ordered to fight the people till they say none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and whoever says none has the right to be worshipped but Allah waives his wealth and his life from me unless he deserves a legal punishment lusty, and his account will be with Allah. Abu Bakr said, by Allah, I will fight him who discriminates between zakat and prayers, for zakat is the compulsory right to be taken from the wealth by Allah. If they refuse to give me even a tying rope which they used to give to Allah's apostle, I would fight them for withholding it. Umar said, by Allah, it was nothing, except I saw that Allah had opened the chest of Abu Bakr to the fight, and I came to know for certain that was the truth. Number 389, narrated Abdullah bin Abbas, Uyayna bin Izn bin Hudayfa bin Badr came and stayed at Medina with his nephew Al-Hur bin Qais bin Izn, who has one of those whom Umar used to keep near him, as the Qur'an. Learned men knowing Qur'an by heart were the people of Umar's meetings and his advisers, whether they were old or young. Uyayna said to his nephew, O my nephew, have you an approach to this chief so as to get for me the permission to see him? His nephew said, I will get the permission for you to see him. Ibn Abbas added, so he took the permission for Uyayna, and when the latter entered, he said, O the son of Al-Khattab, by Allah, you neither give us sufficient provision nor judge among us with justice. On that Umar became so furious that he intended to harm him. Al-Hur said, O chief of the believers, Allah said to his apostle, hold to forgiveness, command what is good right, and leave the foolish, that is, do not punish them. Qur'an 7 verse 199, and this person is among the foolish. By Allah, Umar did not overlook that verse when Al-Hur recited it before him, and Umar said to observe the orders of Allah's book strictly. See Hadith number 166, Volume 6. Number 390, narrated Asma bin Abu Bakr, I came to Aisha during the solar eclipse. The people were standing offering prayer and she too was standing and offering prayer. I asked, what is wrong with the people? She pointed towards the sky with her hand and said, Subhanallah. I asked her, is there a sign? She nodded with her head, meaning, yes. When Allah's apostle finished the prayer, he glorified and praised Allah and said, there is not anything that I have not seen before but have seen now at this place of mine, even paradise and hell. It has been revealed to me that you people will be put to trial nearly like the trial of Ad-Dajjal, in your graves. As for the true believer or a Muslim, the sub-narrator is not sure as to which of the two words Esma had said. He will say, Muhammad came with clear signs from Allah, and we responded to him, accepted his teachings and believed what he said. It will be said to him, sleep in peace. We have known that you are a true believer who believed with certainty. As for a hypocrite or a doubtful person, the sub-narrator is not sure as to which word Esma said. He will say, I do not know, but I heard the people saying something and so I said the same. Number 391, narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, leave me as I leave you, for the people who were before you were ruined because of their questions and their differences over their prophets. So, if I forbid you to do something, then keep away from it. And if I order you to do something, then do of it as much as you can. Number 392, narrated Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, the Prophet said, the most sinful person among the Muslims is the one who asked about something which had not been prohibited, but was prohibited because of his asking. Number 393, narrated Zayd bin Thabit, the Prophet took a room made of date palm leaves mats in the mosque. Allah's apostle prayed in it for a few nights till the people gathered to pray the night prayer Tarawih behind him. Then on the fourth night the people did not hear his voice and they thought he had slept, so some of them started humming in order that he might come out. The Prophet then said, you continued doing what I saw you doing till I was afraid that this Tarawih prayer might be enjoined on you, and if it were enjoined on you, you would not continue performing it. Therefore, O people, perform your prayers at your homes, for the best prayer of a person is what is performed at his home except the compulsory congregational prayer. See Hadith number 229, Volume 3. See Hadith number 134, Volume 8. Number 394, narrated Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, Allah's apostle was asked about things which he disliked, and when the people asked too many questions, he became angry and said, ask me any question. A man got up and said, O Allah's apostle, who is my father? The Prophet replied, your father is Hudayfa. Then another man got up and said, O Allah's apostle, who is my father? The Prophet said, your father is Salim, Mawla Shaiba. When Umar saw the signs of anger on the face of Allah's apostle, he said, we repent to Allah. Number 395, narrated Warad, the clerk of Al-Mughira Muawiyah wrote to Al-Mughira, write to me what you have heard from Allah's apostle. So he Al-Mughira wrote to him, Allah's Prophet used to say at the end of each prayer, La ilaha illallah wa la sharika lah, lahul mulku, wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allahumma la mani'a lima ataita, wa la muti'a lima manata, wa la yanfa'u dal jad minkal jad. He also wrote to him that the Prophet used to forbid one kill and kill, idle useless talk, or that you talk too much about others, 2 asking too many questions in disputed religious matters. 3 and wasting one's wealth by extravagance. 4 and to be undutiful to one's mother. 5 and to bury the daughters alive. 6 and to prevent your favors benevolence to others, that is not to pay the rights of others. 7 and asking others for something except when it is unavoidable. Number 396, narrated Anas, we were with Umar and he said, we have been forbidden to undertake a difficult task beyond our capability, that is to exceed the religious limits, for example, to clean the inside of the eyes while doing ablution. Number 397, narrated Anas bin Malik, the Prophet came out after the sun had declined and offered the Zuhr prayer in congregation. After finishing it with Taslim, he stood on the pulpit and mentioned the hour and mentioned there would happen great events before it. Then he said, whoever wants to ask me any question, may do so, for by Allah, you will not ask me about anything but I will inform you of its answer as long as I am at this place of mine. On this, the answer wept violently, and Allah's apostle kept on saying, ask me. Then a man got up and asked, where will my entrance be, O Allah's apostle? The Prophet said, you will go to the fire. Then Abdullah bin Hudayfa got up and asked, who is my father, O Allah's apostle? The Prophet replied, your father is Hudayfa. The Prophet then kept on saying angrily, ask me. Ask me. Umar then knelt on his knees and said, we have accepted Allah as our Lord and Islam as our religion and Muhammad as an apostle. Allah's apostle became quiet when Umar said that. Then Allah's apostle said, "By him in whose hand my life is, paradise and hell were displayed before me across this wall while I was praying, and I never saw such good and evil as I have seen today." Number 398, narrated Anas bin Malik, a man said, "O Allah's Prophet, who is my father?" The Prophet said, "Your father is so-and-so." And then the divine verse, "O you who believe, ask not questions about things." Qur'an 5 verse 101. Number 399, narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's apostle said, "People will not stop asking questions till they say, 'This is Allah, the creator of everything,' then who created Allah?" Number 400, narrated Ibn Mas'ud, "I was with the Prophet at one of the farms of Medina while he was leaning on a date palm leaf stalk. He passed by a group of Jews and some of them said to the other, 'Ask him the Prophet about the Spirit.' Some others said, 'Do not ask him, lest he should tell you what you dislike.' But they went up to him and said, 'O Abu Qasim, inform us about the Spirit.' The Prophet stood up for a while, waiting. I realized that he was being divinely inspired, so I kept away from him till the inspiration was over. Then the Prophet said, 'O Muhammad, they ask you regarding the Spirit. Say, the Spirit, its knowledge is with my Lord, that is, nobody has its knowledge except Allah.' Qur'an 17 verse 85. This is a miracle of the Qur'an that all the scientists up till now do not know about the Spirit, that is, how life comes to a body and how it goes away at its death. See Hadith number 245, volume 6. Number 401, narrated Ibn Umar, the Prophet wore a gold ring and then the people followed him and wore gold rings too. Then the Prophet said, 'I had this golden ring made for myself.' He then threw it away and said, 'I shall never put it on.' Thereupon the people also threw their rings away. Number 402, narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said to his companions, 'Do not fast al-Wisl.' They said, 'But you fast al-Wisail.' He said, 'I am not like you, for at night my Lord feeds me and makes me drink.' But the people did not give up al-Wisl, so the Prophet fasted al-Wisl with them for 2 days or 2 nights, and then they saw the crescent, whereupon the Prophet said, 'If the crescent had delayed, I would have continued fasting because of you,' as if he wanted to vanquish them completely because they had refused to give up al-Wisl. Number 403, narrated Ibrahim at-Tamimi's father, Ali addressed us while he was standing on a brick pulpit and carrying a sword from which was hanging a scroll. He said, 'By Allah, we have no book to read except Allah's book and whatever is on the scroll.' And then he unrolled it, and behold, in it was written what sort of camels were to be given as blood money, and there was also written in it, 'Medina is a sanctuary form Air mountain to such and such place, so whoever innovates in it in heresy or commits a sin therein, he will incur the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the people, and Allah will not accept his compulsory or optional good deeds.' There was also written in it, 'The asylum pledge of protection granted by any Muslims is one and the same, even a Muslim of the lowest status is to be secured and respected by all the other Muslims, and whoever betrays a Muslim in this respect by violating the pledge will incur the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the people, and Allah will not accept his compulsory or optional good deeds.' There was also written in it, 'Whoever freed slave befriends takes as masters other than his real masters manumitters without their permission will incur the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the people, and Allah will not accept his compulsory or optional good deeds.' See Hadith number 94, volume 3. Number 404, narrated Aisha, the Prophet did something as it was allowed from the religious point of view, but some people refrained from it. When the Prophet heard of that, he, after glorifying and praising Allah, said, 'Why do some people refrain from doing something which I do? By Allah, I know Allah more than they.' Number 405, narrated Ibn Abi Mulaika, once the 2 righteous men, that is, Abu Bakr and Umar, were on the verge of destruction, and that was because, when the delegate of Bani Tamim came to the Prophet, one of them, either Abu Bakr or Umar, recommended Al-Aqra bin Habis at-Tamimi al-Hanzali, the brother of Bani Majashi, to be appointed as their chief, while the other recommended somebody else. Abu Bakr said to Umar, 'You intended only to oppose me.' Umar said, 'I did not intend to oppose you.' Then their voices grew louder in front of the Prophet, whereupon there was revealed, O you who believe! Do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet, a great reward. Qur'an 49 verse 2-3. Ibn Zubair said, thenceforward when Umar talked to the Prophet, he would talk like one who whispered a secret and would even fail to make the Prophet hear him, in which case the Prophet would ask him to repeat his words. Number 406, narrated Aisha, the mother of believers, Allah's apostle during his fatal ailment said, order Abu Bakr to lead the people in prayer. I said, if Abu Bakr stood at your place in prayers, the people will not be able to hear him because of his weeping, so order Umar to lead the people in prayer. He again said, order Abu Bakr to lead the people in prayer. Then I said to Hafsa, will you say to the Prophet, if Abu Bakr stood at your place, the people will not be able to hear him because of his weeping, so order Umar to lead the people in prayer? Hafsa did so, whereupon Allah's apostle said, you're like the companions of Joseph. See Qur'an 12 verse 30-32. Order Abu Bakr to lead the people in prayer. Hafsa then said to me, I have never received any good from you. Number 407, narrated Sahih bin Sa'd Sa'idi, Uwaymir al-Ajlani came to Asim bin Adi and said, if a man found another man with his wife and killed him, would you sentence the husband to death in qisas, that is equality in punishment? O Asim, please ask Allah's apostle about this matter on my behalf. Asim asked the Prophet, but the Prophet disliked the question and disapproved of it. Asim returned and informed Uwaymir that the Prophet disliked that type of question. Uwaymir said, by Allah, I will go personally to the Prophet. Uwaymir came to the Prophet when Allah had already revealed Quranic verses in that respect, after Asim had left the Prophet, so the Prophet said to Uwaymir, Allah has revealed Quranic verses regarding you and your wife. The Prophet then called for them, and they came and carried out the order of li'an. Then Uwaymir said, O Allah's apostle! Now if I kept her with me, I would be accused of telling a lie. So Uwaymir divorced her, although the Prophet did not order him to do so. Later on, this practice of divorcing became the tradition of couples involved in a case of li'an. The Prophet said to the people, wait for her. If she delivers a red short small child like a wara, a short red animal, then I will be of the opinion that he Uwaymir has told a lie, but if she delivered a black big-eyed one with big buttocks, then I will be of the opinion that he has told the truth about her. Ultimately she gave birth to a child that proved the accusation. See Hadith number 269, volume 6. Number 408, narrated Malik bin Aus an-Nasri, I proceeded till I entered upon Umar, and while I was sitting there, his gatekeeper Yarfa came to him and said, Uthman, Abdurrahman, Zubair and Sa'd ask your permission to come in. Umar allowed them. So they entered, greeted, and sat down. After a while the gatekeeper came and said, shall I admit Ali and Abbas? Umar allowed them to enter. Al-Abbas said, O chief of the believers, judge between me and the oppressor Ali. Then there was a dispute regarding the property of Bani Nadir between them. Abbas and Ali. Uthman and his companions says, O chief of the believers, judge between them and relieve one from the other. Umar said, be patient. Beseech you by Allah, with whose permission the heaven and the earth exist. Do you know that Allah's apostle said, our property is not to be inherited, and whatever we leave is to be given in charity, and by this Allah's apostle meant himself? On that the group said, he verily said so. Umar then faced Ali and Abbas and said, I beseech you both by Allah, do you both know that Allah's apostle said so? They both replied, yes. Umar then said, now I am talking to you about this matter in detail. Allah favored Allah's apostle with some of this wealth which he did not give to anybody else, as Allah said, what Allah bestowed as booty on his apostle, for which you made no expedition. Qur'an 59 verse 6. So that property was totally meant for Allah's apostle, yet he did not collect it and ignore you, nor did he withhold it with your exclusion, but he gave it to you and distributed it among you till this much of it was left behind, and the Prophet used to spend of this as the yearly expenditures of his family, and then take what remained of it and spend it as he did with other Allah's wealth. The Prophet did so during all his lifetime, and I beseech you by Allah, do you know that? They replied, yes. Umar then addressed Ali and Abbas, saying, I beseech you both by Allah, Do you know that?" Both of them replied, "Yes." Umar added, "Then Allah took his apostle unto him." Abu Bakr then said, "I am the successor of Allah's apostle and took over all the Prophet's property and disposed of it in the same way as Allah's apostle used to do, and you were present then." Then he turned to Ali and Abbas and said, "You both claim that Abu Bakr did so and so in managing the property, but Allah knows that Abu Bakr was honest, righteous, intelligent, and a follower of what is right in managing it." Then Allah took Abu Bakr unto him. I said, "I am the successor of Allah's apostle and Abu Bakr. So I took over the property for 2 years and managed it in the same way as Allah's apostle and Abu Bakr used to do." Then you both, Ali and Abbas, came to me and asked for the same thing. "O Abbas, you came to me to ask me for your share from nephew's property. And this Ali came to me asking for his wife's share from her father's property, and I said to you both, if you wish, I will place it in your custody on condition that you both will manage it in the same way as Allah's apostle and Abu Bakr did and as I have been doing since I took charge of managing it. Otherwise, do not speak to me any more about it." Then you both said, "Give it to us on that condition," so I gave it to you on that condition. Now I beseech you by Allah, did I not give it to them on that condition?" The group whom he had been addressing replied, "Yes." Umar then addressed Abbas and Ali saying, "I beseech you both by Allah, didn't I give you all that property on that condition?" They said, "Yes." Umar then said, "Are you now seeking a verdict from me other than that? By him with whose permission the heaven and the earth exists, I will not give any verdict other than that till the hour is established. And if you both are unable to manage this property, then you can hand it back to me, and I will be sufficient for it on your behalf." See Hadith number 326, Volume 4. Number 409, narrated Asim, I said to Anas, "Did Allah's apostle make Medina a sanctuary?" He replied, "Yes, Medina is a sanctuary from such and such place to such and such place. It is forbidden to cut its trees, and whoever innovates in heresy in it or commits a sin therein, will incur the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the people." Then Musa bin Anas told me that Anas added, "or gives refuge to such an heretic or a sinner." Number 410, narrated Abdullah bin Amr, I heard the Prophet saying, "Allah will not deprive you of knowledge after He has given it to you, but it will be taken away through the death of the religious learned men with their knowledge. Then there will remain ignorant people who, when consulted, will give verdicts according to their opinions whereby they will mislead others and go astray." Number 411, narrated Al-Amash, I asked Abu Wa'il, "Did you witness the battle of Siffin between Ali and Muawiyah?" He said, "Yes," and added, "Then I heard Sahih bin Hunayf saying, O people, blame your personal opinions in your religion. No doubt, I remember myself on the day of Abi Jandal. If I had the power to refuse the order of Allah's apostle, I would have refused it. We have never put our swords on our shoulders to get involved in a situation that might have been horrible for us, but those swords brought us to victory and peace, except this present situation." Abu Wa'il said, "I witnessed the battle of Siffin, and how nasty Siffin was." Number 412, narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, I fell ill. Allah's apostle and Abu Bakr came to visit me on foot. The Prophet came to me while I was unconscious. Allah's apostle performed ablution and poured the remaining water of his ablution over me, whereupon I became conscious and said, "O Allah's apostle, how should I spend my wealth? Or how should I deal with my wealth?" But the Prophet did not give me any reply till the verse of the laws of inheritance was revealed. Number 413, narrated Abu said, a woman came to Allah's apostle and said, "O Allah's apostle, men only benefit by your teachings, so please devote to us from some of your time, a day on which we may come to you so that you may teach us of what Allah has taught you." Allah's apostle said, "Gather on such and such a day at such and such a place." They gathered and Allah's apostle came to them and taught them of what Allah had taught him. He then said, "No woman among you who has lost her 3 children died but that they will screen her from the fire." A woman among them said, "O Allah's apostle, if she lost 2 children?" She repeated her question twice, whereupon the Prophet said, even two, even two, even two. See Hadith number 341, Volume 2. Number 414, narrated Al-Mughira bin Shu'bah, the Prophet said, a group of my followers will remain predominant victorious till Allah's order the hour comes upon them while they are still predominant victorious. Number 415, narrated Humayd, I heard Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan delivering a sermon. He said, I heard the Prophet saying, if Allah wants to do a favor to somebody, He bestows on him the gift of understanding the Qur'an and Sunnah. I am but a distributor, and Allah is the giver. The state of this nation will remain good till the hour is established, or till Allah's order comes. Number 416, narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, when the following verse was revealed to Allah's apostle, say, He has power to send torment on you from above. Quran 6 verse 65, he said, O Allah! I seek refuge with your face from that punishment, and when this was revealed, or from beneath your feet. Quran 6 verse 65 he said, O Allah! I seek refuge with your face from that, and when this verse was revealed, or to cover you with confusion in party strife, and make you to taste the violence of one another. Quran 6 verse 65. He said, these two warnings are easier than the previous ones. Number 417, narrated Abu Hurairah, a Bedouin came to Allah's apostle and said, my wife has delivered a black boy, and I suspect that he is not my child. Allah's apostle said to him, have you got camels? The Bedouin said, yes. The Prophet said, what color are they? The Bedouin said, they are red. The Prophet said, are any of them gray? He said, there are gray ones among them. The Prophet said, whence do you think this color came to them? The Bedouin said, O Allah's apostle, it resulted from hereditary disposition. The Prophet said, and this that is, your child has inherited his color from his ancestors. The Prophet did not allow him to deny his paternity of the child. Number 418, narrated Ibn Abbas, a woman came to the Prophet and said, my mother vowed to perform the Hajj but she died before performing it. Should I perform the Hajj on her behalf? He said, yes. Perform the Hajj on her behalf. See, if your mother had been in debt, would you have paid her debt? She said, yes. He said, so you should pay what is for him as Allah has more right that one should fulfill one's obligations to him. Number 419, narrated Abdullah, Allah's apostle said, do not wish to be like anybody except in two cases, the case of a man whom Allah has given wealth and he spends it in the right way, and that of a man whom Allah has given religious wisdom that is, Qur'an and Sunnah and he gives his verdicts according to it and teaches it to others that is, religious knowledge of Qur'an and Sunnah that is Prophet's traditions. Number 420, narrated Al-Mughira bin Shu'bah, Umar bin al-Khattab asked the people about the imlas of a woman, that is, a woman who has an abortion because of having been beaten on her abdomen, saying, who among you has heard anything about it from the Prophet? I said, I did. He said, what is that? I said, I heard the Prophet saying, its diya that is blood money is either a male or a female slave. Umar said, do not leave till you present witness in support of your statement. So I went out, and found Muhammad bin Maslama. I brought him, and he bore witness with me that he had heard the Prophet saying, its diya, blood money is either a male slave or a female slave. Number 421, narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, the hour will not be established till my followers copy the deeds of the previous nations and follow them very closely, span by span, and cubit by cubit that is, inch by inch. It was said, O Allah's apostle, do you mean by those nations the Persians and the Byzantines? The Prophet said, who can it be other than they? Number 422, narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, the Prophet said, you will follow the ways of those nations who were before you, span by span and cubit by cubit that is, inch by inch so much so that even if they entered a hole of a mastigger, you would follow them. We said, O Allah's apostle, do you mean the Jews and the Christians? He said, whom else? Number 423, narrated Abdullah, the Prophet said, none is killed unjustly, but the first son of Adam will have a part of its burden. Sufyan said, a part of its blood because he was the first to establish the tradition of murdering. Number 424t, narrated Jabir bin Abdullah as-Salami, a Bedouin gave the Pledge of Allegiance for embracing Islam to Allah's Apostle, and then he got an attack of fever in Medina and came to Allah's Apostle, and said, O Allah's Apostle, cancel my pledge. Allah's Apostle refused to do so. The Bedouin came to him again and said, cancel my pledge, but he refused again, and then again, the Bedouin came to him and said, cancel my pledge, and Allah's Apostle refused. The Bedouin finally went away, and Allah's Apostle said, Medina is like a pair of bellows furnace, it expels its impurities while it brightens and clears its good. Narrated Ibn Abbas, I used to teach Qur'an to Abdurrahman bin Auf. When Umar performed his last Hajj, Abdurrahman said to me at Mina, would that you had seen Chief of the Believers today. A man came to him and said, so-and-so says, if Chief of the Believers died, we will give the oath of allegiance to such and such person. Umar said, I will get up tonight and warn those who want to usurp the people's rights. I said, do not do so, for the season of Hajj gathers the riffraff mob who will form the majority of your audience, and I am afraid that they will not understand the meaning of your saying properly and may spread an incorrect statement everywhere. You should wait till we reach Medina, the place of migration and the place of the Sunnah, the Prophet's traditions. There you will meet the companions of Allah's Apostle from the Muhajirin and the Ansar who will understand your statement and place it in its proper position. Umar said, by Allah, I shall do so the first time I stand to address the people in Medina. When we reached Medina, Umar in a Friday khutbah sermon said, no doubt, Allah sent Muhammad with the truth and revealed to him the book Qur'an, and among what was revealed, was the verse of Haram that is stoning adulterers to death. See Hadith No. 817, Volume 8. Number 425, narrated Muhammad, we were with Abu Hurairah while he was wearing 2 linen garments dyed with red clay. He cleaned his nose with his garment, saying, Bravo! Bravo! Abu Hurairah is cleaning his nose with linen. There came a time when I would fall senseless between the pulpit of Allah's Apostle and Aisha's dwelling, whereupon a passerby would come and put his foot on my neck, considering me a madman, but in fact, I had no madness, I suffered nothing but hunger. Number 426, narrated Abdurrahman bin Abbas, Ibn Abbas was asked, did you offer Eid prayer with the Prophet? He said, yes, had it not been for my close relation to the Prophet, I would not have performed it with him because of my being too young. The Prophet came to the mark which is near the home of Kathir bin Asalt and offered the Eid prayer and then delivered the sermon. I do not remember if any adhan or iqama were pronounced for the prayer. Then the Prophet ordered the women to give alms, and they started stretching out their hands towards their ears and throats giving their ornaments in charity, and the Prophet ordered Bilal to go to them to collect the alms, and then Bilal returned to the Prophet. Number 427, narrated Ibn Umar, the Prophet used to go to the Quba Mosque, sometimes walking, sometimes riding. Number 428, narrated Hisham's father, Aisha said to Abdullah bin Zubair, bury me with my female companions, that is the wives of the Prophet, and do not bury me with the Prophet in the house, for I do not like to be regarded as sanctified just for being buried there. Narrated Hisham's father, Umar sent a message to Aisha, saying, will you allow me to be buried with my 2 companions, the Prophet and Abu Bakr? She said, yes, by Allah. Though it was her habit that if a man from among the companions of the Prophet sent her a message asking her to allow him to be buried there, she would say, no, by Allah, I will never give permission to anyone to be buried with them. Number 429, narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's Apostle used to perform the Asr prayer and then one could reach the Awali, a place in the outskirts of Medina while the sun was still quite high. Narrated Yunus, the distance of the Awali from Medina was 4 or 3 miles. Number 430, narrated Asa'ib bin Yazid, the saw that is a kind of measure during the lifetime of a prophet used to be equal to the 1 mud, another kind of measure, and 1/3 of a mud which we use today, but the saw of today has become large. Number 431, narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's Apostle said, O Allah, bestow your blessings on their measures, and bestow your blessings on their saw and mud. He meant those of the people of Medina. Number 432, narrated Ibn Umar, the Jews brought a man and a woman who had committed illegal sexual intercourse to the Prophet, and the Prophet ordered them to be stoned to death, and they were stoned to death near the mosque where the biers used to be placed. Number 433, narrated Anas bin Malik, the mountain of Uhud came in sight of Allah's apostle, who then said, "This is a mountain that loves us and is loved by us. O Allah! Abraham made Mecca a sanctuary, and I make the area between its Medina's two mountains a sanctuary." Number 434, narrated Sahih, the distance between the pulpit and the wall of the mosque on the side of the Qibla was just sufficient for a sheep to pass through. Number 435, narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle said, "Between my house and my pulpit there is a garden from one of the gardens of paradise, and my pulpit is over my lake tank." That is Kawthar. Number 436, narrated Nafi, Abdullah said, "The Prophet arranged for a horse race, and the prepared horses were given less food for a few days before the race to win the race, and were allowed to run from Al-Hafiyah to Thaniyat al-Wada, and the unprepared horses were allowed to run between Thaniyat al-Wada and the mosque of Bani Zarik." Abdullah was one of those who participated in the race. Number 437, narrated Ibn Umar, "I heard Umar delivering a sermon on the pulpit of the Prophet." Number 438, narrated Sa'ib bin Yazid, that he heard Uthman bin Affan delivering a sermon on the pulpit of the Prophet. Number 439, narrated Aisha, "This big copper vessel used to be put for me and Allah's apostle, and we would take water from it together on taking a bath." Number 440, narrated Anas, "The Prophet brought the Ansar and the Quraysh people into alliance in my house at Medina, and he invoked Allah for 1 month against the tribe of Bani Sulaim in the last rak'ah of each compulsory prayer." Number 441, narrated Abu Burda, "When I arrived at Medina, Abdullah bin Salam met me and said to me, 'Accompany me to my house so that I may make you drink from a bowl from which Allah's apostle used to drink, and that you may offer prayer in the mosque in which the Prophet used to pray.' I accompanied him, and he made me drink sawik and gave me dates to eat, and then I prayed in his mosque." Number 442, narrated Umar, "The Prophet said to me, 'Someone came to me tonight from my Lord while I was in the Akik valley, and said to me, offer prayer in this blessed valley and say labbaik for the performance of Umrah and Hajj.'" Number 443, narrated Abdullah bin Dinar, Ibn Umar said, "The Prophet fixed corn as the miqat for assuming the ihram for the people of Najd, and al-Jufa for the people of Sham, and Dil-Hulayfa for the people of Medina." Ibn Umar added, "I heard this from the Prophet, and I have been informed that the Prophet said, 'The miqat for the Yemenites is Yalam Lam.'" When Iraq was mentioned, he said, "At that time it was not a Muslim country." Number 444, narrated Abdullah bin Umar, "The Prophet had a dream in the last portion of the night when he was sleeping at Dil-Hulayfa. In the dream it was said to him, 'You are in a blessed path, that is, valley.'" Number 445, narrated Ibn Umar, that he heard the Prophet, after raising his head from the bowing in morning prayer, saying, "O Allah, our Lord! All the praises are for you." And in the last rak'ah he said, "O Allah! Curse so and so and so, and so." And then Allah revealed, "Not for you, O Muhammad, is the decision, but for Allah, whether he turns in mercy to them or punish them, for they are indeed wrongdoers." Qur'an 3 verse 128. Number 446, narrated Ali bin Abi Talib, that Allah's apostle came to him and Fatima, the daughter of Allah's apostle, at their house at night and said, "Won't you pray?" Ali replied, "O Allah's apostle, our souls are in the hands of Allah, and when he wants us to get up, he makes us get up." When Ali said that to him, Allah's apostle left without saying anything to him. While the Prophet was leaving, Ali heard him striking his thigh with his hand and saying, "But man is quarrelsome more than anything else." Qur'an 18 verse 54. Number 447, narrated Abu Hurairah, while we were in the mosque, Allah's apostle came out and said, "Let us proceed to the Jews." So we went out with him till we came to Bayt al-Midras. The Prophet stood up there and called them, saying, "O assembly of Jews! Surrender to Allah, embrace Islam, and you will be safe." They said, "You have conveyed Allah's message, O Aba al-Qasim." Allah's apostle then said to them, "That is what I want. Embrace Islam and you will be safe." They said, "You have conveyed the message, O Aba al-Qasim." Allah's apostle then said to them, "That is what I want," and repeated his words for the third time and added, "Know that the earth is for Allah and I want to exile you from this land, so whoever among you has property he should sell it, otherwise, know that the land is for Allah and his apostle." Number 448, narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, Allah's apostle said, "Noah will be brought before Allah on the day of resurrection, and will be asked, 'Did you convey the message of Allah?' He will reply, 'Yes, O Lord.' And then Noah's nation will be asked, 'Did Noah convey Allah's message to you?' They will reply, 'No warner came to us.' Then Noah will be asked, 'Who are your witnesses?' He will reply, 'My witnesses are Muhammad and his followers.' Thereupon you Muslims will be brought and you will bear witness." Then the Prophet recited, "And thus we have made of you Muslims a just and the best nation, that you might be witness over the nations, and the Apostle a witness over you." Qur'an 2 verse 143. Number 449, narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle sent the brother of the tribe of Bani Adi al-Ansari as governor of Khaybar. Then the man returned, bringing Janib, a good kind of date. Allah's apostle asked him, "Are all the dates of Khaybar like that?" He replied, "No, by Allah, O Allah's apostle. We take 1 saw of these good dates for 2 sas of mixed dates." Allah's apostle then said, "Do not do so. You should either take 1 saw of this kind for 1 saw of the other, or sell one kind and then buy with its price the other kind of dates, and you should do the same in weighing." Number 450, narrated Amr bin al-As, that he heard Allah's apostle saying, "If a judge gives a verdict according to the best of his knowledge and his verdict is correct, that is, agrees with Allah and his apostle's verdict, he will receive a double reward, and if he gives a verdict according to the best of his knowledge and his verdict is wrong, that is against that of Allah and his apostle, even then he will get a reward." Number 451, narrated Ubay bin Umar, Abu Musa asked permission to enter upon Umar, but seeing that he was busy, he went away. Umar then said, "Didn't I hear the voice of Abdullah bin Qais? Allow him to come in." He was called in and Umar said to him, "What made you do what you did?" He replied, "We have been instructed thus by the Prophet." Umar said, "Bring proof witness for this, otherwise I will do so and so to you." Then Abdullah bin Qais went to a gathering of the Ansar, who then said, "None but the youngest of us will give the witness for it." So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri got up and said, "We used to be instructed thus by the Prophet." Umar said, "This tradition of the Prophet remained hidden from me. Business in the market kept me busy." Number 452, narrated Al-Arai, Abu Hurairah said, "You people claim that Abu Hurairah narrates many narrations of Allah's apostle. Anyhow, with Allah will be our appointment. I was a poor man, and used to stick to Allah's apostle contented with what will fill my stomach, and the Muhajirin emigrants used to be busy trading in the markets, and the Ansar used to be busy looking after their properties. One day I heard Allah's apostle saying, 'Who will spread his rida, a garment covering the upper part of the body, till I finished my speech and then fold it, that is, wrap it over your body, in which case he will never forget anything he had heard from me.' So I spread my garment which I was wearing. And by him who sent Muhammad with the truth, ever since, I have never forgotten whatever I heard from him." The Prophet. C. Hadith number 119, Volume 1. Number 453, narrated Muhammad bin al-Munkadir, "I saw Jabir bin Abdullah swearing by Allah that Ibn Sayyid was the Dajjal. I said to Jabir, 'How can you swear by Allah?' Jabir said, 'I have heard Umar swearing by Allah regarding this matter in the presence of the Prophet, and the Prophet did not disapprove of it.'" Number 454, narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle said, "Horses may be used for 3 purposes. For a man they may be a source of reward in the hereafter. For another, a means of protection. And for another, a source of sin. The man for whom they are a source of reward is the one who keeps them for Allah's cause and ties them with long ropes and lets them graze in a pasture or a garden. Whatever those long ropes allow them to eat of that pasture or garden, will be written as good deeds for him, and if they break their ropes and run 1 or 2 rounds, then all their footsteps and dung will be written as good deeds for him, and if they pass a river and drink from it though he has had no intention of watering them, even then, that will be written as good deeds for him. So such horses are a source of reward for that man. For the man who keeps horses for his livelihood in order not to ask others for help or beg his bread, and at the same time he does not forget Allah's right of what he earns through them and of their backs that he presents it to be used in Allah's cause, such horses are a shelter for him from poverty. For the man who keeps them just out of pride and for showing off, they are a source of sin. Then Allah's apostle was asked about donkeys. He said, Allah has not revealed anything to me regarding them except this comprehensive verse: then anyone who has done good, equal to the weight of an atom or a small ant shall see it, and anyone who has done evil, equal to the weight of an atom or a small ant shall see it. Qur'an 99 verse 7-8. Number 456, narrated Aisha, a woman asked the Prophet about the periods, how to take a bath after the periods. He said, take a perfumed piece of cloth and clean yourself with it. She said, how shall I clean myself with it, O Allah's apostle? The Prophet said, clean yourself. She said again, how shall I clean myself, O Allah's apostle? The Prophet said, clean yourself with it. Then I knew what Allah's apostle meant. So I pulled her aside and explained it to her. Number 457, narrated Ibn Abbas, Hufayd bin al-Harith bin Hazan presented the Prophet with some butter, dried yogurt, curd milk and mastigers as a gift. The Prophet then asked for meal, mastigers etc. to be put, and it was eaten over his tablecloth, but the Prophet did not eat of it, as he had aversion to it. But if it had been illegal to eat, it would not have been eaten over his tablecloth, nor would he have ordered that mastigers meat to be eaten. Number 458, narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, the Prophet said, whoever has eaten garlic or onion, should keep away from us, or should keep away from our mosque and should stay at home. Ibn Wahab said, once a plate full of cooked vegetables was brought to the Prophet at Badr. Detecting a bad smell from it, he asked about the dish and was informed of the kinds of vegetables it contained. He then said, bring it near, and so it was brought near to one of his companions who was with him. When the Prophet saw it, he disliked eating it and said to his companion, eat, for I talk in secret to one whom you do not talk to. Number 459, narrated Jubair bin Mut'im, a lady came to Allah's apostle and she talked to him about something, and he gave her some order. She said, O Allah's apostle, if I should not find you? He said, if you should not find me, then go to Abu Bakr. Ibrahim bin Sa'd said, as if she meant the death of the Prophet. Number 460, narrated Abu Hurairah, the people of the book used to read the Torah in Hebrew and then explain it in Arabic to the Muslims. Allah's apostle said to the Muslims, do not believe the people of the book, nor disbelieve them, but say, we believe in Allah and whatever is revealed to us, and whatever is revealed to you. Number 461, narrated Ubaydullah, Ibn Abbas said, why do you ask the people of the scripture about anything while your book Qur'an, which has been revealed to Allah's apostle, is newer and the latest? You read it pure, undistorted and unchanged, and Allah has told you that the people of the scripture, Jews and Christians, changed their scripture and distorted it, and wrote the scripture with their own hands and said, it is from Allah, to sell it for a little gain. Does not the knowledge which has come to you prevent you from asking them about anything? No, by Allah, we have never seen any man from them asking you regarding what has been revealed to you. Number 462, narrated Aisha, after the slanderers had given a forged statement against her, Allah's apostle called Ali bin Abi Talib and Usama bin Zayd when the divine inspiration was delayed. He wanted to ask them and consult them about the question of divorcing me. Usama gave his evidence that was based on what he knew about my innocence, but Ali said, Allah has not put restrictions on you and there are many women other than her. Furthermore, you may ask the slave girl who will tell you the truth. So the Prophet asked Barira, my slave girl, have you seen anything that may arouse your suspicion? She replied, I have not seen anything more than that she is a little girl who sleeps, leaving the dough of her family unguarded, that the domestic goats come and eat it. Then the Prophet stood on the pulpit and said, O Muslims! Who will help me against the man who has harmed me by slandering my wife? By Allah, I know nothing about my family except good. The narrator added, then the Prophet mentioned the innocence of Aisha. See Hadith number 274, Volume 6. Number 463, narrated Aisha, Allah's Apostle addressed the people, and after praising and glorifying Allah, he said, what do you suggest me regarding those people who are abusing my wife? I have never known anything bad about her. The sub-narrator, Urwa, said, when Aisha was told of the slander, she said, O Allah's Apostle! Will you allow me to go to my parents' home? He allowed her and sent a slave along with her. An Ansari man said, Subhanaka! It is not right for us to speak about this. Subhanaka! This is a great lie. Number 464, narrated Atta, I heard Jabir bin Abdullah in a gathering saying, we, the companions of Allah's Apostle, assumed the state of Ihram to perform only Hajj without Umrah. Jabir added, the Prophet arrived at Mecca on the 4th of Dhul-Hijjah. And when we arrived in Mecca, the Prophet ordered us to finish the state of Ihram, saying, finish your LHRAM and go to your wives for sexual relation. Jabir added, the Prophet did not oblige us to go to our wives, but he only made that legal for us. Then he heard that we were saying, when there remains only 5 days between us and the day of Arafat, he orders us to finish our ihram by sleeping with our wives, in which case we will proceed to Arafat with our male organs dribbling with semen. Jabir pointed out with his hand illustrating what he was saying. Allah's Apostle stood up and said, you people know that I am the most Allah-fearing, the most truthful and the best doer of good deeds pious from among you. If I had not brought the hadi with me, I would have finished my ihram as you will do, so finish your ihram. If I had formerly known what I came to know lately, I would not have brought the hadi with me. So we finished our ihram and listened to the Prophet and obeyed him. See Hadith number 713, Volume 2. Number 465, narrated Abdullah al-Muzim, the Prophet said, perform an optional prayer before Maghrib prayer. He repeated it thrice, and the third time he said, whoever wants to offer it can do so, lest the people should take it as a sunnah tradition. See Hadith number 277, Volume 2. Number 466, narrated Jundab bin Abdullah, Allah's Apostle said, recite and study the Qur'an as long as you are in agreement as to its interpretation and meanings, but when you have differences regarding its interpretation and meanings, then you should stop reciting it for the time being. See Hadith number 581, Volume 6. Number 467, narrated Jundab bin Abdullah, Allah's Apostle said, recite and study the Qur'an as long as your hearts are in agreement as to its meanings, but if you have differences as regards its meaning, stop reading it then. Number 468, narrated Ibn Abbas, when the time of the death of the Prophet approached while there were some men in the house, and among them was Umar bin al-Khattab, the Prophet said, come near, let me write for you a writing after which you will never go astray. Umar said, the Prophet is seriously ill, and you have the Qur'an, so Allah's book is sufficient for us. The people in the house differed and disputed. Some of them said, come near so that Allah's Apostle may write for you a writing after which you will not go astray, while some of them said what Umar said. When they made much noise and differed greatly before the Prophet, he said to them, go away and leave me. Ibn Abbas used to say, it was a great disaster that their difference and noise prevented Allah's Apostle from writing that writing for them,